Hi, this is David, and I wanted to do a video on something that happened living with the Mormons in Utah. Now, this is the kind of stuff that you're going to get if you live in Utah. I had one comment of a family that wanted to come to Utah, and they said, gee, after looking at your videos, we're not coming. Okay, because here's what you're going to deal with. As most of you know, I have a 13-year-old girl now, and she's in 7th grade, and she's kind of mature for her age in many ways. And I've warned her what it's going to be like living around the Mormons. Now, I tell my kids, you get along with everybody. You accept people's religion. I don't care if people are fat or tall or skinny or they're little people or whatever. If they treat you properly, you can have anybody you want for a Mormon. Or anyone you want for a friend. Oh, God. Oh, Satan's words have come out of my mouth. My kids can have Mormon friends. That's fine. I don't have any problem with that. As long as they don't try to convert my children to Mormonism. I don't want them knocking on the damn door. I don't want them inviting my kids to young women's and parties and other things that the church sponsors. Now, if a Mormon girl has a birthday party and invites my kid, I don't have a problem with that. I don't want my kids around that poison. I don't want them in the building. I don't want them around missionaries or people trying to convert them. And I have that right. As a parent, there's a long-standing right in the United States. We can determine the religion or non-religion of our children. I don't teach my children to be atheists. I'm atheist, but they're welcome, basically. If they want to go to the Mormon church, I don't give a rat's ass. They can get and walk down the street there and sit in there. They find it boring and stupid. They don't want to be there because they haven't been brainwashed. Now, if they've been brainwashed since they were, 1 year old, they might want to stay down there. So anyway, here's what happened to me the other day. I got a phone call from a lady, and I use that term a little bit loosely in this situation. Just my camera, whole thing will fall on the floor. And she said, "Is your wife home?" And I said, "No, my wife's at work. I'm here. Can I help you?" Well, now see here. As soon as I hear that, Mormon words. Well. I said, yes, can I help you? He says, well, it's about your daughter. Okay. And my daughter just happened to be standing right beside me. And in fact, I called this lady. Now that I think about it, my daughter came down and said, Dad, this lady wants to talk to you. And I said, okay. So I called her back. And she, well, I'd like to come over and talk to you and your wife. That's Mormon. They're going to come over and intimidate me. And I was an old insurance agent. I'm pretty good on the phone. I'm really good on the phone. I spent a lot of time on the phone. And so I said, well, is there something I could help you with? And she says, well, it is about your daughter. And I said, okay, what about my daughter? Well, it's her language. And I said, well, what is it about her language that is causing you to be upset? He says, well, she's going around telling all the kids that it's okay to say the F word. I said, well, I certainly could talk to my daughter about that. I don't think that's totally appropriate. Well, you're Mormons, aren't you? And I said, hell no. And we're glad not to be. She goes, oh. Now see, she doesn't know what to say. She doesn't, because she's going to use the prophets and the bishops and the stake presidents to back up her bullshit. Well, they're not there now. And I said, well, I certainly can talk to my child that there's boundaries and things that are appropriate in private or with girlfriends, and in public they may not be appropriate. My child says that your child kicked her. Well, she did. I said, well, maybe you should talk to your child about assault laws in the United States. She can't kick your child. And my child basically said to your child that your child was a bitch. Is she? Of course not. Oh, of course. She goes on. And I said, well, you know what? This is between kids. I said, generally my daughter doesn't lie. This one will tell most of the truth, not all. I have a son that way. He tells a portion of the truth, and then you've got to dig the rest out. So I told her, I said, you know, this is kid stuff. This is between the children. No, no, I'm the mother, and I'm from the Philippines. Well, because my children are Filipino, I think she felt because she was a Mormon and because my children heritage is heritage is Filipino, that she had a right to read me a new asshole. Well, I'm an American, and I want to be reasonable. Now, if my daughter's going around using the F word all over school, that's not reasonable. And I'm not defending that. I talked to my daughter after this phone call and told her there's boundaries. You may say something that you'll regret, or if you talk like that, trashy people are going to hang around you, and then you'll be trashy, and you may have a life you're not happy with. So anyway, this Mormon Filipino is going to tell me how to discipline my own child. Well, I finally told her, I said, you know, I'll tell my child about boundaries. And I wasn't there. I don't know if my daughter said bitch to your daughter and then your daughter kicked her, or if your daughter kicked my daughter and then my daughter said you're a bitch. I said I can't determine that, and neither can you. But I will assure you I'll talk to my child, and I certainly recommend to you that your child shouldn't be kicking anybody. Well, that was pretty much the end of the phone call. And then I told my daughter, I said, you know, these people are LDS Mormons, and they're going to have very different ways of raising their kids than the way I raised you. I don't want you going around telling everybody it's okay to say the fuck word. Well, here's, you know, when you dig into this stuff, you begin to understand it. It's not because their father's an atheist that the girl said, you're a bitch. You know, the bitch kicked her. And she said, you're a bitch. Well, the truth of the matter is basically I will take care of my children and make sure that they're appropriate. Now, when you live in Utah, you're going to have this, okay? I remember my daughter came home from school about 3 months ago. She said, Dad, all the boys are wearing white shirts and ties. And I said, well, why? That's kind of unusual. For 7th grade boys. I was in 7th grade years ago when we played with the dinosaurs. And she says, because they're all coming from a seminary building. I said, well, okay. I said, Abby, I said, you know you're living around a lot of Mormons, and they're having a big meeting. It's called a conference in Salt Lake City, and they brainwash and train their children to stick out and look like idiots. And I said, what does that mean to you? And she says, well, it's mean because it identifies me as a non-member. Bam. That's a smart kid. That's a smart 7th grader. So I jumped in the car and I went over to the school and I said, what the hell? I said, you know, the religion and church don't mix, and when all those kids come over here dressed in a suit and tie, it certainly is the secret Mormon way of saying, gee, if you're a non-member, you feel guilty at this school. And the principal was pretty good. In fact, I'll say he's very good. He was from Arabia, and he was Muslim at one time, now turned Christian. And he said, well, I know what it's like to be discriminated against. And he did. He wasn't BSing me. And he did say, well, you know, we're going to sit down as a group of administrators and talk about that it doesn't seem fair that the Mormon church does try to put that secret influence in here. Now, see, if you're a gang member and they're not allowed to wear hats or baggy clothes over there to identify themselves as gang members. But cult members can wear certain shirts and ties which are inappropriate in 7th grade for PE and the rest of it. They can identify themselves because they're Mormons and they own the state, and they're going to push their power on anybody. So I'm training my children. My little girl, the one that called her a bitch, the reason that happened is she's in theater, and she's just as cute as can be, and a beautiful girl, just a beautiful girl. And she came to me and she said, Dad, I have a part in a theater production and it says hell. Am I allowed to say hell in school? I said, well, honey, I said, you know, if it's in theater, there's things that people say and do in acting out Hamlet or Shakespeare or whatever. And she said, well, I asked my teacher, and my teacher said that I could make my own mind up. I said, honey, make your own mind up. It's your life. It's your decisions. You're growing up, and you have to learn how you want to be and what you want to be. I'm not going to do things other than guide your life and give you the best advice I can. And then, you know, you're in charge of yourself and how you want to be. So she came home from school, and I just happened to think about it, and I said, you know, Ab, I said, did you say hell or did you say heck? She says, I said hell. Okay, okay. Now, these are children growing up. It's like an experimental cigarette. Yeah, it's a little bit like an experimental homosexual act. It's like a drug, you know, take this pill at a party. Children will experiment, and they're trying to figure out their adult boundaries. Here they are growing up, and they're starting to have adult bodies, and she babysits now, and she can't believe that people trust her to babysit. And, you know, I've let her drive the car a little bit in private areas, and she is definitely growing up. And I understand that it is appropriate and inappropriate. It's both. And then she said to me, she says, Dad, I don't think I like that girl. I don't want to hang around her. She's just way too sensitive. I said, well, honey, you have that right. If you find that her religion or that her behavior or that her personality is not what you want, then don't play with her. You don't have to be mean to her. You just, you know, ignore her. I mean, you know, go to your other friends. No, don't ignore her. Abby has, and to show again, I hope an example, I've told my kids that race and skin color, size, and culture. Now, Abby has a little girl that came from Malaysia, and she's Buddhist. And they're the greatest friends. They stay overnight with each other and have slumber parties and what. And Abigail's very good on the piano, and this other little gal is very good singing. So they play, and they make movies and whatever. Abigail also has a black friend. And that's fine with me. I don't care what skin color, and if it's a friend of hers, then it's a friend of mine. And she's welcome here all the time, and she comes. And then she has another girl from Tonga. Her father's a Tongan, and they play together. And then Abigail has, you know, several Caucasian friends. And then she has, I've said this on one of my other videos, she has one girlfriend who is in 7th grade now. And the girlfriend is about 300 pounds and 6'2". Now Abigail, she's the cutest thing. She's 5 foot and she weighs 96 pounds. Long black hair, black eyes, a beautiful olive skin, and a enchanting smile. And I see her with this other girl who isn't looking like that. And she's invited that girl over to the pool, and they swam together last summer. And it's the only person I've seen in our 6-foot pool that when she jumps in, it washes little kids up on the cement. I don't say anything. I just go, well, maybe she shouldn't jump a cannonball. You know, that looked like a meteorite going in the pool. I'm just teasing. And she walks the bottom of the pool, and her head never comes out of the goes in the water. She can walk that 6-foot pool, and her head's above water. I'm demonstrating that I teach my kids to accept everybody, not to hate anybody because of their skin color, their language. My little 9-year-old now, she's always helping the blind guy in our place here that he can't find his way or he's lost, and she'll run down and help the blind guy. And then she has several Hispanic friends, and she'll say, Dad, her mom can't even speak English. And I said, well, you know, it's probably 1st or 2nd generation here. Oh, okay. And both of my girls are bilingual, and my wife is trilingual. So I've learned to accept everybody. I've learned to teach my kids not to hate, and not to hate the Mormons. not to hate the Mormons. There's good Mormon people. There's just bad doctrine in the Mormon church. There's just lies and cult kinds of behaviors. But as long as they don't push that over into my children's life, and they did when they all dressed up in suits and ties and made my kid feel like an idiot because she didn't belong to that cult. That's not fair, people. That's out of boundaries. The school and the church are separated. Dress your 7th graders like 7th graders. They can't wear hats. They're not allowed to wear baggy clothes. They're not allowed to put any signs of gang signs or whatever. And then you put a suit and tie on them and don't think that's the same thing. Oh, that's Joseph Smith. See, that's the right side of your brain. That's Joseph. We're just identifying with Christ. No, you're not. You're pushing a cult on other children who are Buddhist. And my friend, the little Buddhist girl, she said, well, David, I was, in class, and they were talking about Christ and talking about Christmas and everything. And I had to sit there and listen to it, and I don't believe in Jesus. And I thought, well, that's not right either. That's separation of church and state. Certainly you can have a Christmas tree and lights, and, I'm not against that. But when you start putting up on public property Jesus babies, I have some problems with that. Well, anyway, I just wanted to let you know what it's like to live in Utah and what it's like when people try to enforce their behaviors, their standards, their policies, and their procedures on your children. Thank you.